Hello everyone, Adelina here for Estudio 206, sharing my days 2 through 4 for December daily 2019. I'm starting off with my December 2nd page, which is a little story about my daughter. She asked me not to share the full story, so I'm covering that up, but I'm going to show you a process video that I pulled together. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw this picture of my daughter that we took while we were in Colorado for Thanksgiving. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite photos of her. Now that she's 14, it's really a challenge to get her to let me take pictures of her, but somehow my best friend, who's a photographer, manages to convince her. So she doesn't listen to mom, but she listens to my friends. So this layout, I decided to go with an Instax photo, which is one of my favorite ways of printing photos. And I had a pack of black and white Instax that I hadn't used yet, so I pulled it out for this layout. And I started off by trying to use that "Oh What Fun" label to add my story. And to be honest with you, I typed it up and the label is so small that when I typed up the story, it moved around and it just kind of ruined the label. So I scrapped that idea and then decided to just pull out some white cardstock and type the story up on that to fit in that little space above the tag. And the tag and the number and all the embellishments on that little red tag I did as part of my foundation pages. And so all I really had to do was attach the photo and the story to this layout. So there's the typed up story, and I'm trimming it down. I actually trimmed down more of the story than I had intended, but it gets the gist across, and I was happy with the journaling that was left once I cut everything down. And so once I got that completed, I used some double-sided tape and adhered it above that little tag. I played around with adding some other embellishments from an old Feed Your Craft kit that I had some leftovers from, but none of them really seemed to fit with this layout, and I didn't really want to take away from the photo of my daughter. I just wanted to be the focal point of this layout, and she's wearing the Christmas tree Hannah Anderson pajamas that I got her this year, and so I thought they went really cute with that background. And I think that 4x6 journal card with the trees is an old, I want to say Kelly Perky card. I've had it for probably 3 years. Then I took one of the sentiment stickers by Pink Fresh. Again, this is probably a couple of years old. And a label or a tab from that Feed Your Craft kit. And added that, and that completed this layout. And I was really happy with how nicely that turned out. Next up is a story about our cat. We have a Siamese cat named Frida Kahlo, and she has been with us since 2003. She's almost 17 years old now. And so she dislocated her little paw scratching at the carpet in the kids' playroom. We don't have carpet anywhere in our house but in the kids' playroom, and she managed to injure herself there. And so Frida does not go to the vet very often. She never gets sick. She has never been injured. And so getting her into this little pet carrier was a task. Let me tell you, she was not happy with me. So after swiping me a few times and biting my hand, I managed to get her in there. And so this photo captures the look that she was giving the vet when she was talking to me about how we could carefully take Frida out of the carrier to check her foot. And I was explaining to her what had happened. And so I had a few photos printed out or a few versions of this photo printed out that I wanted to use in that hexagon opening. And I thought this one was just a little too small. I had printed an Instax, and I'll probably put that Instax into my Project Life album because I love this picture of her. After playing around with the layout a few times, I decided to go with the 4x6 image that I had printed, and I used a hexagon cutout of that same die cut opening as my template to cut the photo in a hexagon shape that was just slightly smaller than that opening. Then I just cut the outline with some scissors and adhered it with my tape runner to the center of that opening, and I like how that grid paper in the background frames the photo. And so after reviewing the layout a little bit, joyful just didn't seem appropriate for this layout, though we were joyful that she wasn't seriously injured. She just ended up needing to be on some pain medications and getting a lot of rest. And since she's up there in age, it's not too hard to get her to stay still. So I went back to my stash of embellishments and found one that said Christmas, and I thought that was a little more appropriate. So I didn't have room on this layout to add a story. It felt like adding some sort of journaling on here would crowd the photograph. So I decided to add a 3x4 sleeve on the opposite side of this layout, or I should say on the facing side. And I pulled out a few of the 3x4 journaling cards that I had and found one that had enough room for me to type up a quick little short story. And so first I typed it up on some cardstock, and I think I was just trying too hard to force a hexagon shape into the facing layout. And so I decided to just type it up on that directly onto the journal card and then stamp a date on it and call it good. To finish off this layout, I pulled out a stack of gold stars that I had that I bought at Paper Source and decided to tie in the gold from the gold foil number on the opposite page. I futzed a little bit with adding a couple of stars and just landed on adding one. The adhesive on these stars isn't very good, so I stapled it to secure it in place, and that completed that layout. And so here's a quick overview of where I was after completing day 2 and day 3. The final story that I'm sharing today is of our hot cocoa station. This is an idea that I saw in a Pottery Barn catalog, and last year I started collecting mugs to go on this stand, and this year it really took off. I added a few more things, and it has quickly become my kids' favorite tradition. And so I keep it stocked with peppermint sticks, crushed peppermint, a variety shapes of marshmallows, and a few different flavors of hot cocoa. And my kids really love it, so it's really fun to keep it on our dining room table, and it's something that they enjoy as an after dinner snack. And so this 2x2 layout, I don't know about you, but sometimes I struggle with these 2x2 layouts because I don't know what to put in them. And sometimes I fill them with ephemera, and this time I really like how the photo of the hot cocoa station fit in the center of that. I wasn't sure if that would work, but it actually worked out great. And then I liked including the photos of the 2 new items that I added to the station this year. And so here I am just kind of going through the stickers and chipboard and alphas that I have, trying to figure out what to put on that facing 3x4 card. I decided to go with some gold washi tape that I had that tied in the gold foil of that number 4 on the opposite page. And then I started to continue to go through my stash of stickers to figure out what I wanted to add above that hot cocoa sentiment. For last year's December daily, I didn't create foundation pages, and it made it really easy for me to morph the layouts into whatever I wanted based on the story that I wanted to tell. And I'm finding that this year I'm a little challenged for two reasons. One, I reduced the size of my album to a 4x6, which I've never done before. And I knew it was going to be challenging for me to do it this small because I like to take so many pictures and I want to tell so many stories. And I've had to show a lot of restraint. And second, I'm finding it challenging to have the layout already determined. And I know I could technically change the layout or add to it or do whatever I want to it or totally scrap whatever layout I have. But I'm trying really hard to stay within the constraints that I've created. And I'm not sure that I'm going to do it this small again next year because as I move forward with these layouts and reflect on what I'm doing, I'm finding it more challenging than I had anticipated. But so far, I've been able to tell the stories that I've wanted, just in a more compact version of them. So I'm curious if anyone else is finding those challenges, or if you've typically done 6x8 and have switched to a 4x6. I'd be curious what your experience is so far. So after going back and forth for a while, I landed on the Sentiment New Tradition, and that completed this final day 4 layout. So there is an overview of the 3 layouts that I'm sharing today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. You can find more information on my website at estudio206.com. Thanks for stopping by today and have a great day.